Hi, everyone. We're just going to wait a few more minutes for people to trickle in, and then we'll get started. Hi, for the people just joining right now, we are waiting a little bit for people to join, and then we'll get started.
Also, we love everyone to have their cameras on during this workshop session if you're able to, because it will be more personal.
Yeah, and here is Ruthie. So hi guys, I hope you guys are having an amazing Sunday and time here at the conference. Just to note, be sure to stick around to the very end of the conference where we have some important announcements regarding our organization and also some membership applications. And while attendees are coming in, I'll begin by reading a little bit about Ruthie. Ruthie is a strategic talent advisor to enterprise level clients at LinkedIn focused on building employer branding strategies through a creative lens. Ruthie was also chosen from 2% of the LinkedIn employee base to embody LinkedIn's cultural tenets and values through the planning and execution of monthly thematic experiences for 16,000 employees globally on Investment Day, also known as InDay. She's active in multiple employee resource groups focused on diversity, inclusion, and belonging initiatives. She's also a mentor with Built by Girls, an organization that prepares female and non-binary students to step boldly into their careers powered by technology. She is an ambivert, avid reader, bagel enthusiast, and a proponent of the Oxford comma. And before we get started, here is a reminder about our Q&A session by Inara.
Hey everyone, if you have any questions throughout Ruthie's presentation, feel free to send them to me privately in the Zoom chat, and at the end, I'll be asking them for you or asking you to unmute, whichever one you're more comfortable with. But without further ado, Ruthie.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. And Inara, we can keep questions until the end, or if it's all right with you, if anybody has questions throughout the presentation, you can just put them in chat. Sometimes it's easier when I'm talking about something specific, if it like comes into your mind at that moment and we can answer it, and otherwise we can leave them and answer them at the end. So hello, I'm seeing all of your names and your faces, which is wonderful. Something that I like to do at the beginning is to ask everybody to write into chat where they're calling in from. So we're all from different places, but I would imagine we're all in the general New York area. So, all right, we got a New York City. I'm in New Jersey, so I'll write that in there. Upper West Side, Sheepshead Bay, Forest Hills, Brooklyn, the city, Queens, the Hamptons, Queens, Forest Hills. Amazing. Upper West Side, New York City, Manhattan, amazing. Well, welcome. Today we're going to go through a bit of how to use LinkedIn as a student, as a young adult, as somebody who might not have the 20 years of experience, because LinkedIn can be used in a variety of ways. It's not just a living resume, which is what it was kind of created for 18 years ago, which was kind of a long time for like a tech company that has evolved so much. And so when we think about LinkedIn and what we go through today is we'll be talking a lot about networking and groups and how to establish your personal brand, because who you are on LinkedIn will help form the opportunities that you have in the future, the people that you're able to connect with, and the opportunities that you're going to be exposed to. So I will share my screen now. And I know some of you have, can I get a thumbs up if you can see my screen? Awesome. Okay. So I'm actually going to be transitioning to a new role in the next few months. I'm going to be leading a sales team that's specifically focused in our healthcare vertical. So that's a little plug that if any of you are interested in healthcare or healthcare tech in any way, I'm happy to be connected with you and answer any questions you may have about that career path as well. So as a brief overview of what we're going to cover, we won't spend a ton of time on every single one of these things, but we will have the presentation for you afterwards as well. So if you want to refer back to anything that we go over, you'll be able to do so. So first, let's set the precedent of LinkedIn being social media, but how we should be presenting ourselves on social media. And these are all examples of ways that you might interact with different platforms, right? And this is all around the example of a donut. So I know it's silly, but just follow me. So you might say on one place that you like donuts, or you might take a video of yourself eating a donut, or look up a donut recipe, or listen to music about donuts. But on LinkedIn, almost everything you do or post will be with a professional mindset. So instead of a picture of the donut, you would say, I'm looking for a job at a donut company. I hope to operate a franchise one day. My skills are donut production. And here's 3 recommendations from former colleagues within the donut industry. So it's going to be a little bit of a different way of presenting the actions that you take. As a whole, LinkedIn has about 90% of the US population on it, 50 million employers, more than 700 million professionals across the world in over 200 countries, and almost 3 million groups, which are things that you self-select to join because you're interested in their theme or what their subject matter's in. So when we think about that big network, and then how to zoom in and define yourself, we think about it as a professional brand. So we're going to go over what makes a good brand, how to identify what your brand is, and then to show that you're the right choice for the internship or the job. My sister is in law school, and she has used LinkedIn to find multiple internships throughout law school. So it's something that you're really able to use at every level of the professional spectrum. So think about Apple. Think about your iPhone. What makes Apple a good brand? You know the promise of the quality of the goods. You know what to expect from the device. And it's very distinct from all competitors. We're going to think about that in the same way about who you are. What can people expect from working with you or working around you? Why are you unique from other people? And you're going to package this in a little presentation in a part of the LinkedIn profile I'll show you, which is essentially going to be the elevator pitch. If you were to ride with someone from an elevator from the ground floor to the 18th floor of a building, and you only had that amount of time, what would you say to them? What can you distill yourself down to so that you can leave a lasting impression on them? And we're going to do that by highlighting your skills, increasing your network, and then showing your levels of expertise or wisdom or interest. And we're going to do that in a way through looking at some values. So when we think about describing yourself in your elevator pitch, especially if you don't have, 10 years of work to back up your experience, we are going to paint a picture about the type of person you are through your values and your goals. It's also important to note that depending on your privacy settings, your LinkedIn profile is likely public, or at least public to other people on LinkedIn, which means when you Google your name, your LinkedIn profile will show up, because your LinkedIn profile should be your real name, your first and last name. It's an example of a living resume. And so as if you were to have it saved on your computer on Word, you're going to have your living resume on LinkedIn. And because of that, it will show up on Google search. So it's important that your LinkedIn profile really does represent kind of your public persona. And in a different way than your Instagram or your TikTok or your Facebook might. It's like a professional lens over the social media site. I can't see if there are any questions yet, but Inara, interrupt me if you see any come through, okay? Thank you. Okay, So first, we're going to talk very high level about how to build your profile. What's the difference between a profile and a resume? There are differences between what you would create on a resume and what you would have on LinkedIn. Your resume, if you were to apply for a job or you were to write a cover letter, applies to that job, right? But your LinkedIn profile is much broader. It is who you are, what you hope to achieve, what you've done, what organizations you're a part of, and then goes more into your skills, your projects, your interests, in that it paints this picture of who you are, as opposed to just kind of focusing on the work and the cover letter, if that makes sense. And so there's a few things that you should do to make sure that your profile stands out. One, have a great photo. This can be something from your phone. It doesn't have to be professional. And there are options to edit, zoom, crop everything within the app on LinkedIn or the website. So even if it's not the most amazing photo, you can sharpen it and you can make it what you want it to be. And we also want to make sure that the basic points of your profile are completed. These include your location and the industry that you hope to work within, your prior work or internship experience, if you're a part of any organizations or have volunteer experience, any education, your high school or college or any other type of institution, skills that you have, and then any programs or organizations you're a part of. All of these are pretty easy to find when you're on the page, and they're important because of one of the many kinds of algorithms that are embedded in the LinkedIn website. The more keywords that you have on your profile that shows who you are and what you do and what you're interested in doing, the better that the jobs matching algorithm will be able to push you relevant job opportunities and internships. It will help match you with the best content on your news feed, what's most relevant to what your interests are and what your expertise might be. And it also is going to make sure that it actually represents who you are as a person. If we just had your location as New York City and nothing else, then people who find you won't know what you're about and they won't know what to connect with you on. A note here, and we will go live into LinkedIn in a minute, but a note here is that your location can either be the greater New York City area, or you can specify Brooklyn or Queens, or you can specify by zip code. I recommend choosing greater New York City area, if that is where you live in that general area, because all other opportunities and people within that area will be easier to access for you than if you were to create like a very specific zip code. And that's specifically for the New York City area because it's such a metropolis. When you think about your headline, this is like the one sentence that someone should be able to look at and understand who you are and what you do from that one sentence. And you can see over here, some people will just have it be a job title that they've had or where they would like to work, head of client strategy. Some people will do something like design thinking meets social impact. I have a friend at LinkedIn who is our new hire onboarder. She helps create the programs for our new hires, and she calls herself a new hire cheerleader. So you can really determine what you would like to call yourself. But it's important to have something there in general, because when people do searches, like over on the left-hand side of your screen, it'll have your picture, your current title, where you're located, and then that little headline. Then there's also the opportunity to have the summary, and this is the elevator pitch. So when you think about your summary, you can describe the type of person you are. So in the example over here, it says, I'm a natural bridge builder. I'm someone who brings together groups, ideas, and communities. And it talks a little bit about where they came from and where they hope to work and what they want to do. And so you can also create your summary to be your elevator pitch. A couple sentences about who you are, another few sentences about your experiences and passions, and then a couple sentences about your future goals. So this elevator pitch is going to be one of the primary identifiers of what your passions are. We also have a really cool stat that over 50% of hires result from a personal connection. And so for this next section, we're going to talk about your connection, your network on LinkedIn. And the way that we think about this is through a first, a second, and a third degree. And so if we're the woman in the middle, we might have a first degree connection here. And because this person is connected with this person and this person, the woman in the middle and the woman on the outer ring are able to be connected on LinkedIn. And so it really is this, how many degrees of separation are you from other people? And then what we'll get into is how to feel comfortable reaching out and asking for an introduction to those people. You are able to discover your current connections and new connections when you go onto the LinkedIn homepage. At the very top, there's something called My Network. And based on what you've clicked on, what groups you're a part of, what people you message, you will have another algorithm, right? Will recommend people who you might want to connect with. It's called the People You May Know feature. And it's kind of like Pandora, maybe, where you thumbs up and you thumbs down, and you let people know what you want to connect with and who you might have less in common with. And as you do the connect, LinkedIn will pick up on who you're choosing to connect with and give you more people like that to help you build your network. So who should you reach out to and what should you say? You can reach out to people you have something in common with. You can reach out to people who you have nothing in common with, but you're interested in the company that they work at. You can reach out to someone who's connected to someone that you'd like to speak with. None of that is strange on LinkedIn, whereas that would be creepy or very strange on other websites and other forms of social media. This type of networking is completely valid and exists commonly on the site. You still should be diligent about who you reach out to and who you allow to connect with you. And so one of the ways that I say to put your best foot forward is in your request, when you want to connect with somebody, say who you are, how you came across their profile, and how they may be able to help you. You know, don't just blanketly send these requests with no context, because then people are going to say, well, who is this person? I'm not connected with them. I don't know any of their connections, and I don't feel comfortable accepting. And so it's going to be better for you to kind of write that. Hi, I'm Ruthie. I saw you present at the Women in Business Coalition last Sunday. It was super interesting. I'd love to be connected with you to see if there's any way that we can work together later in life or something, right? It doesn't have to be the most amazing thing you've ever written, but write something there. There's a few ways for you to be able to successfully search for jobs, internships, schools, and have LinkedIn show you relevant things. And so what we'll go over here, very high level, and this is one of those sections that you'll be able to refer back to. We won't go through all of it in detail, but you are able to specifically go into the jobs section at the top of the linkedin.com page, set your career interests, including potential job titles and locations, which will ensure that the jobs that are shown to you are relevant to your skill set and your what you would like to be a part of, right? And then you can also search with keywords, companies, locations, jobs. You can do that with a proactive search. And you can set search alerts. So say an internship at L'Oreal, right? The woman in the other breakout room, say you're interested in working at L'Oreal, but there's no internships right now that you can see. If you set a search alert and then you save it, when L'Oreal updates their jobs with something that's relevant to you, you'll get a ping in your email that says L'Oreal's uploaded a job that you might be interested in. Another way to do that is to follow companies that you're interested in. And so if you go to like, I think I follow Oprah, so you can follow people or companies. I think I follow Oprah and the New York Times, but I also follow Facebook on LinkedIn because I'm interested in seeing what that company posts about, but I'm also interested in seeing what Oprah posts about. So you can follow people and you can follow companies. And something to note here is recruiters on the back end, they have a filter where they can filter by people who follow their company. So if you're interested in working at a company, follow that company. It will signal to a recruiter on the other side that you've already taken that first step of becoming acquainted with their company and that you're interested in working for them. You can also look at alumni. So by going to an academic institution on LinkedIn, there should be a page that's called a subpage that's called alumni. And from there, you can see where the most people from that institution, where that academic, like that school or university, what they do, what they studied, where they work. So that's an interesting feature if you're interested in kind of seeing where those alumni wind up. And then we should always consider the following two things. So joining groups of topics that you're interested in. I thought I was going to go into marketing for the longest time. And the advertising age group, the ad age group, was one of the first LinkedIn groups I ever joined. And it was all kind of over my head and I didn't really understand a lot of what was being posted. But the more I read it and the more I paid attention to what was being posted, I became kind of fluent in that when I was interviewing. And I wound up getting 2 consecutive internships, 2 different summers at marketing firms through something that I saw in that LinkedIn group, not even through a job. So it's interesting to kind of remember that groups can be this community that you build and help create that professional brand that we were talking about in. In our kind of last bit here, I'm going to go live onto LinkedIn and kind of show you where some of those things are. But before I go, are there any questions that I can answer?
I think Jacqueline had a question if you want to ask.
Yeah, I had a question about when you were talking about the headliner aspect of LinkedIn. Sorry, I just didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah.
But so as students, like a lot of us, like our primary like occupation, I guess you could say, is being a student.
Mm-hmm.
So would you say in our case, we should leave our headline to be like student at XYZ high school because that is kind of like what we spend most of our time doing, or should we try to kind of separate away from that so that employers can see that we do something else? So like, for example, like I would put like vice president of NYC Women in Business Coalition. Like what would you recommend in terms of that? You're muted. Sorry. You're muted.
Classic. I'd probably do both. I'd probably do something like student at blank. And then you know how on your keyboard you can do that thing that's like the line up and down? And then maybe after that, right, president at da da da. So your headline, that line can have multiple things on it. But if you just want to say student at XYZ, that is perfectly fine because that's what you are. And there's no reason to feel that being a student isn't enough. If anything, it's awesome because you're building your LinkedIn profile and presence early before you have all of that work experience. It's not strange to have, I have friends that are in graduate school or law school and they'll say law student at blank. I think my sister's even says that on her LinkedIn. So that's totally fine.
Thank you. And then just like a follow-up question.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think we all know that like LinkedIn is supposed to be like a professional like website or platform,
Mm-hmm.
but like I was just kind of curious to what extent. So like, for example, if I had something that I did like kind of like an interest that didn't really pertain to my career, like let's say someone's like a dancer or they're like an actor,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to be like a lawyer, like would you say that I should kind of put that in somewhere into organizations, or should I just kind of leave that out completely if that's not where I want to take my career?
So are you saying like you might want to become a lawyer, but currently you are a dancer, or help me understand?
Yeah, so like if it's just like some interest that you have on the side or like a hobby, for example, like it's not really your primary focus, you're not actively per se looking for internships in the dance world, like you're in a completely different field, but you kind of want to mention that, I guess, to kind of like stand out or like show that you're kind of more than just, hey, I want to work in an office kind of thing. Like where do you stand on that? Do you think that we should include that?
I do. Yeah, there's skills. So you can put your dancer down in skills, or you can do that as part of the organizations tab. So I'll show you what that looks like now. But I think it's really important to remember that we are super 3D individuals. we have a lot of varied interests, and not everything has to be so serious. So you can put your kind of side interests, you can, you'll see when you go on LinkedIn, some people will say things like, I have an old boss and his headline says like aging longboarder. So you can kind of make it tongue in cheek, or you can kind of create this vision of who you are as a person, or what your professional brand would be based on your interests, that can have a little fun with it. And you don't have to have it be like extremely literal and like professional all the time. So I'm gonna try to go straight to a Chrome link. So, oh, I don't know which one I'm showing. Can you see Target or LinkedIn?
LinkedIn.
Okay, that's good. Otherwise you'd see my Target shopping cart. All right, so if I scroll up and down like this, can you see me scrolling?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so this is your homepage, right? There's a few things to do here and kind of just orient you. First of all, if you ever wanted to post something as a piece of thought leadership, meaning maybe after this workshop is done, or after this day has completed, maybe you want to come here and start a post and put it out and be like, great day at the da, 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 da. You can just do that straight from the top of your newsfeed, right? And you can also add photos, embed videos, add documents, all of these various things. And when you go through your newsfeed, you're going to have a combination of people you're connected with, companies that you follow, and ads. So I don't know Colin, but I know Scott Barton, right? I don't know this company. This company is being promoted. This ad is coming to me because it's probably relevant to me. And so as you come through here, the more people you follow, the more people you connect with, the more interesting, honestly, and more multidimensional your feed will become. Up here under my network, this is where I told you to look at your connections, and it will kind of tell you either events that you might be a good fit for and how to view, or people that I may know that I'm able to connect with. Here in jobs is where you might be able to come in and take skill assessments. You can do some interview prep. There's a resume builder help, and you can do job alerts. So this is where you would come in and you would search for jobs and set that job alert. And that's within the jobs tab. Messaging is here. That's your inbox. I won't show you that because I have personal messages in there. And then overall, your notifications are going to be up here that show you, what you're invited to, and kind of big events from any of your connections. This is where I want to go. And this is the profile. You can make your banner image anything that you would like to. This is where you get to personalize it a bit, right? And then when you come in here with this pencil, this should be your real first and last name. If you'd like to do pronouns, which I will, right? You can actually do that, and it tells you who it would be visible to. Something you should know about LinkedIn is there are a million privacy sections that you can go into. It is, we really care about your personal privacy. And so when I said that headline, that's that one line about who you are, education, and then this is where you can kind of go in and say, what's your postal code? This is actually my work postal code. This is not the postal code where I live. And I did that so that I got targeted for jobs and such that are within the general Manhattan area, even though I don't live in Manhattan. If you have a personal website or a blog or anything like that, you can also put that here under the profile information. And then when you come into your actual feed, this is your about section, right? So this is your elevator pitch section that we talked about. And then you have your experience. When you click anywhere that you may have worked or had an internship with, right? You just click the plus, type in your title, say if it was an internship or if it was an apprenticeship or if it was part-time, self-employed, whatever it may be. Then you can type in the company name here and just click save once you select how long you've worked there. Education, your high school, like my high school is on here. I went to Montclair High School. The things that I did at that high school are also there. So your high school that you currently go to should be indexed and able to be viewed there. This is your volunteer experience. So anything that you may do on the side or get community service hours or credits for, you can find that organization on LinkedIn and put that in here. There's the skills and endorsements section, and you can actually take skill quizzes. And if you were to take the quiz, so see 4 million people have taken it for PowerPoint, you answer 15 multiple choice questions. And if you score in the top 30%, you get a badge that says, yeah, I actually have this skill. I know how to do this thing. So say you are coding or have like a specialized skill, that's one way to differentiate yourself. And then there's also the opportunity to do recommendations. You can ask for recommendations, you can give recommendations. So this is a little bit different than what it may be on a regular just resume that you print out, and you can always see what you've given and what you've received. Here you can put in your languages. So accomplishments are publications, courses you've taken, projects you've been a part of, honors or awards you've gotten, test scores that you would like to show, languages you speak, organizations you're a part of. I put something that's a little, I call it an Easter egg. It's like a hidden thing that people might be excited to find and talk to me about. So I actually say that I'm fluent in Pig Latin, which is silly, but I have a lot of people actually ping me and will message me about that and be like, it's funny you put Pig Latin on there. I know how to speak that too, as like a joke. And that tells me that they actually read my profile and they scrolled down all the way to the bottom. So you can think about adding little fun things into your profile as well. And then here, when I said that I follow people, these are the influencers or the people that I follow. These are the companies that I follow. Remember when I spoke about Ad Age, that would be in this section, and then schools that I'm affiliated with in some way, or I follow. So this is generally how your LinkedIn profile can get built out. And the last kind of thing I'll show you live here is your settings and privacy. And so this is important because I want to make sure that you know how your profile appears to other people, how you appear in public, and how to make sure that your presence is as locked up or as open as you want it to be. And you'll see by scrolling through here that there's a lot to look through. And that's because, as we said, we care about your data. We care about your privacy. So when you come in here, you can see under job seeking preferences, you can see under other applications, but you can come into all of these things. So account preferences, what's your name, your location, your industry. And if you click change, it will bring you to yet another page where you're able to see all of this, right? And if we go back, say you want your default language, or say with visibility, whether you're visible or you're viewing in private mode, what does your public profile look like? Who can see your email address? Can your connections see who who can see your last name? And so this is an important place to spend some time to make sure that the person that you're presenting online is exactly what you want. And especially in today's environment, and especially with us being women or female identifying, it can be important to make sure that your personal information is exactly as you want it to be. Carly, I see you raising your hand.
Sorry, this is a little late. I was trying to ask it a bit earlier, but
No problem.
as you were talking about those quizzes where you can get like badge icons for being in the top 30%, is there any downside if you attempt to take some and don't pass? Like, is anyone able to see that?
I don't think they can see that you didn't pass. And I also don't think that there's a limit on how many times you can try to take it. Maybe there might be a limit in terms of can't take it multiple times in one day or 1 week or whatnot. But I don't think there's like a permanent lock. And I don't think I started a skills quiz. I didn't finish it. And that's not like incomplete on my profile anywhere. So I don't think that happens.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you, Ruthie, for that super insightful presentation. I'm sure much of the audience has learned a lot from it, like I did. We'll be moving into a really quick Q&A session. So our first question to start that off is, how do you feel LinkedIn is evolving because of the pandemic?
It's a great question. Our user numbers, so the number of people who have LinkedIn profiles has increased dramatically in the last year. And if you think about where the economy was at this time last year, a lot of people were out of work and they were trying to find work. And LinkedIn was one of the places that people went for that sense of community and camaraderie, and also to see jobs and learn about opportunities. From a global perspective, LinkedIn grows at 2 new members every second. And most of that growth occurs outside of the United States because 90% of the US population is already on LinkedIn. And so when you think about the tumultuous and internet-based and Zoom-based and computer-based year and how the world of work and education and taking classes has changed, LinkedIn has increasingly become a place of professional community and academic community.
That makes a lot of sense. Jackie had a question in the chat.
What's the difference between following somebody and making a connection with them? Should you message somebody describing your interests if you are simply following them? It's a good question. So following them means that you will get up, like in your newsfeed, you'll see when they post or if they like something, but you're not necessarily going to have them as part of your network. So say they're connected with somebody, you wouldn't have that then second degree connection. Someone like Oprah is not going to accept my request because I'm just a little person, you know, I'm not on Oprah's level. So I wouldn't send Oprah a connection request because it would sit in like her inbox forever and she would never touch it. But somebody who I have an interest in working, so say I'm interested in changing jobs, or say I'll put myself in one of your situations. You might be, you know, where you might be going to school, or you know, what company you might want to have an internship with or work for, and you're not sure exactly how to start there. You can search, say you'd like to do, become a marketer. You could search, we use L'Oreal as an example again, in the search bar, L'Oreal marketing, and people who work within L'Oreal in marketing will appear. If you just follow those people without any sort of a, connection request, they wouldn't know that you are interested in what they do. But if you send them a connection request that says, hey, I'm Sandra, and I'm interested in an internship at L'Oreal next summer. I'm wondering if you have some time to speak with me about that. And you send that as your intro when you press the connect button, they're going to find out just by that one message who you are and what you're looking to gain from a conversation with them.
Thank you, Ruthie. And once again, thank you all for coming. Of course, we only got to a few questions, but if you have any more questions, Ruthie, if you want to drop in any contact information, your LinkedIn or email, feel free to do so.
Yes.
And in the meantime, I wanted to capture a photo of this amazing workshop. So if you guys all can turn on your cameras so we can take a nice group photo before we close out at 3:50. I'll give you guys a second to do so if you guys need to.
Yeah, guys, please turn on your cameras if you're comfortable. Thank you for people who are turning it on.
Okay, I'll take it. 3, 2, 1, smile. Okay, thank you guys so much for coming. Connect with Ruthie on LinkedIn, definitely.
Please do. Send me a note. I'll test you. I'm kidding. You can just connect with me. And I'm happy to be here as a support. If you ever have a resume that you'd like me to look over, if you're going to be applying for a job or you need some help with a cover letter, if you ever just want to talk about LinkedIn or how to potentially break into the tech world, I did it. And I did it straight out of college and I didn't have anyone helping me, and I love helping others. So please connect with me, and I look forward to speaking with you all.
Sorry, really quick before we close out, this is a random question, but I think Ruthie, I tried to connect with you a while ago, but if someone doesn't accept your like request or whatever, can you like retract and like send it again? Because at the time I didn't send a note, which was like my bad. But is there like a feature on LinkedIn where you could like resend it if you like maybe didn't know them before, but now they like know who you are?
You can retract and resend, yes.
Okay.